is Graham Massey from 808 State, and you're listening to Six Towns Radio.
Broadcasting to Stoke-on-Trent and the world. This is Six Towns Radio.
So we are plugging the Junction 16 Festival here on Six Towns Radio, and on Sunday, the 11th of August, there's a great Northwest lineup, including the Happy Mondays, Peter Hook and the Light, and 808 State. And on the line right now from 808 State, I've got Graham Massey. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, good, yeah.
Are you looking forward to coming over to our neck of the woods to play at this festival?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's an area we've not played a lot, really. You know, I was thinking we'd never played the Midlands very often in the 25 years that we've been doing it. So, yeah, good to make an appearance, yeah.
Oh, definitely. Well, you've probably done some DJ gigs around Stoke-on-Trent in the past because, you know, it has got quite a rich heritage on the house scene.
Yeah, and we've done some quite, extracurricular activity outside 808 State. We used to play the Wheat Sheaf in Stoke quite a lot as well, actually.
Yeah.
When that was going.
Yeah, it's a Wetherspoons now.
Yeah, I was actually there the other day where I was doing my wife's fashion show. She teaches at Newcastle-under-Lyme College. Oh, yeah. And we did a big fashion show at Spode. And we were doing some live music at that. Not 808, but some of my other musical pals. So, yeah.
Very interesting. Ties in quite nicely. We're very proud of the dance scene round here. Of course, it was the same as, on a smaller scale, but the same as Manchester. Obviously, when 808 State were massive in the late 80s, the house scene was quite big here, and the dance scene with Shelley's. And obviously, a lot's changed since then, but we are still quite proud of it. Yeah,
oh, yes, definitely, yeah. In fact, one of the first people that I learned some of the house music techniques from was Danny Spencer, who was in Candy Flip. He's a Stoke lad.
He actually does a show on this radio station with his brother Kelvin.
Right,
called Radio Wonk.
Yeah, both amazing producers.
Yeah.
And I learned quite a lot of them. And Danny was a lot younger than me at the time as well, but he was attending a course in Manchester for sound engineering, so he taught me all about drum machines and everything. So
he was a big fan of the Manchester scene back then, and it has changed so much, as has every scene. Some would say for the better, but I think people who were there in the late 80s wouldn't agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, we couldn't predict that any of that stuff that was happening then would be remotely still around now. You know, it was such a hot moment in the sort of culture of Manchester that you could barely believe it was happening at the time, and the legacy of it has carried on way longer than we would have thought in the first place. So, we're still happy to be sort of making music in all different guises and being able to sort of present that music from that era as well, you know.
Yeah, I suppose when it all took off for 808 State was when they got played on Radio 1, championed by John Peel and Gary Davies with Pacific in the daytime. Can you remember it, the very first time it got played?
Well, John Peel played some of the early 808 stuff, which was really heavy acid music. It wasn't remotely commercial. And we had our own label. Then we put an album out called New Build, which was myself, Martin Price, and a guy called Gerald at the time. So, he was the first person to start playing it. And there was quite a lot of local DJs playing our stuff in Manchester. But, it's true that Gary Davis heard one of our white labels in Ibiza and started playing it on daytime Radio 1.
Yeah.
And that was exposed us to the country, countrywide. But we already felt it was a kind of hit because it was getting played as the last record at the Hacienda, and that was our ultimate goal at the time. So, that was our idea of success.
Yeah, and you went on to do some brilliant pieces of work under the 808 State name, including Cubic, Pacific, which we just talked about.
Yeah,
and,
In Your Face.
Yeah, In Your Face. And you also did the theme from The Word. Was there anything else that you got asked to do that you didn't?
And I wish I could go back in the time machine and clear up all the stuff that we didn't do. Yeah, because we used to get asked to do a lot of remixes. I can't be specific about it, but I know just because we were kind of busy, we turned a lot of work down back then. But we were remixing all kinds of people, back then, from like Quincy Jones and David Bowie and all kinds of people were on the phone while that scene was going on.
When you're doing remixing, how different is it to actually making your own music?
I wouldn't say it was totally different. You're still using all your musical faculties. Sometimes it's a lot easier to do a remix in that you're given some source material which is a spark for the creativity. So it's like giving a packet of seeds, and it makes it quite easy. When you're actually trying to do something unique all the time, which we always try to push ourselves not to just do generic dance music, that everything should have, some kind of uniqueness to it. We challenged ourselves quite hard in our own music. Making albums was one of the things that made us different from a lot of the other house music producers, to do a whole album that kind of almost had a sort of more of a sort of concept album kind of vibe to it. You know what I mean? It was a sit down and listen experience.
Yeah, I suppose it is a slightly different way of making music as a band or as a dance producer collective. Yeah,
because largely with remixes, you're aiming directly at the dance floor, which is something that 808 State. I often assume that a large majority of our music was aimed at the dance floor, but I would say that it's pretty 50-50.
Yeah, but what I was saying is, being a collective, people come and go, and you work with each other later. Like you've mentioned, a guy called Gerald. You've worked with him again recently, haven't you?
Yeah, we reconvened doing some of the acid techniques that we did with using the old Roland equipment from pre-MIDI equipment. And that stuff sounds absolutely fabulous through a big PA system. And we were actually going to be headlining the Bangface Festival in Cornwall this year, but the council have shut that down, which is a real shame. So they may well find a different venue for it, in which case we'll be playing alongside Square Pusher and LFO.
Oh, brilliant. I remember as well in the 90s, 808 State dabbled a bit in radio, especially Andy and Darren.
They had a radio show on a community station in Manchester that was absolutely grew from a small thing to an absolutely massive thing, Sunset Radio. And it was very influential in the rave scene in Manchester, and I'm sure you had equivalent local ones in the Midlands.
Well, we also listened to that, to be honest, because it was that big. Right. A lot of us did listen to it.
It's strange how the tapes seem to creep around the world, and I remember we heard one in the shoe shop in Miami, a tape of our local radio station, and it even reached that far a few years later. But they're all on our website, actually. There are quite a few of the recordings have been sent in of that famous radio show, and they've collated a whole, over, 30 hours of it on our website, 808state.com, if anyone wants to check that out.
Well, I'll have to check it out, see if our shout-outs are on there, because we got quite a lot on there, and some jokes as well that were read out.
You might have to get flu and stay in bed for 4 weeks or something to get through it all.
Yeah, definitely. Is it something you've thought about doing again, or the lads have thought about doing again?
Yeah, in fact, they were doing a new version of the show only last year on prototype radio station out of Salford, but I think the funding went weird on that. People are trying to always set up the radios, independent radio stations around Manchester, but to various, they'll have short lifespans,
If you ever consider sending us something here to Six Towns Radio, I'm sure we can get it on for you. We'd love to do that sometime. It's a mix sorted. ZTT, it's their 30th anniversary this year, and they're releasing an album of some of the tracks that they put out there, including the Justin Strauss mix of Pacific. Have you heard that? There
was a number of mixes by American producers. We were on a label called Tommy Boy in the United States, who were a famous
hip-hop label,
hip-hop label. Africa Bambaataa and House of Pain and all kinds of people on that label. So we were quite pleased to be on that label. And but they specifically were aiming at certain clubs in New York when they had those remixes done, So a lot of them weren't really my cup of tea at the time, but I haven't really listened to them much since, no.
I just wanted to put out all the contact details for this Junction 16 night. It's junction16.com, and that's the word 16. Or you can phone Ticket Line on 0844 888 991. Tickets are £35 for VIPs, £125, and it is a fantastic lineup. Happy Mondays, 828 State, Peter Hook and the Light, and the Farm. I think they booked the Farm thinking they were from Manchester, didn't they?
No, I mean, we're old buds from touring way back in the 90s with the Farm. We did a tour with them, so we got to know them quite well, yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Graham, for coming on the line talking about this today.
Well, good to speak to you, yeah.
Yeah, been an absolute pleasure. You
Thanks
take
a lot.
care. Cheers,
Bye.
Drop.
We love music. You are locked into Six Towns Radio.
Hi, this is Massey from 828 State. You can catch us at the Junction 16 Festival on Sunday the 11th of August.